So here we are. What a great place it is too. Classic bit of...
Changing from the sailing is from colonial period, so before independence.
Yeah. There's some photos of family members who owned the hotel in the foyer, and it goes back to 19th century.
Yeah.
Or at least their birth dates.
Of course, they have new the floor.
Yeah.
This is the drumstick.
Great way to start a conversation on Indonesian music, coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah.
You were telling me before that your journey as a young one was from, metal is very popular here. I think it was from Deep Purple to Dara Puspita.
Yeah.
And can you tell me again about the first connection, the first thing that awoke you?
About Dara Puspita.
Yeah.
I forgot, but what I can remember is that I used to read an old magazine with Dara Puspita on it about their shows in Germany, if I'm not mistaken, from an old magazine called Aktuil.
Aktuil, yeah.
Aktuil,
it's a collector's item now.
Yeah. So I was kind of wow, a female band touring Europe. But before that, I didn't have any knowledge about the band. But of course, I knew the song Surabaya, Mari Mari. That's a familiar song. Until then, after I returned from Australia, I brought a lot of CDs, LPs, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, things like that. And I met a radio announcer. His name, I forgot. But
in
this town, Haryono. Yeah, Haryono. He was a radio DJ, and he got at least 2 programs. One is called Beat Club, and for Indonesian music, I forgot the name. Beat Club, he played a lot of rarities. If he had to play Deep Purple, then he would play the live versions or outtakes or bootlegs, like Deep Purple in Jakarta, 1975, things like that. And in Indonesian songs, he also played songs or tunes that are not familiar to people, whether because of the rarities, not found anymore, or released only in a limited number, or like aborted projects. It's like that, songs from aborted project due to political consideration, things like that. Yeah. And that was the first time when I accompanied him in that program that he played Dara Puspita, and I was surprised to know the song and the performance that I noticed from the record.
And he was a crate digger ahead of his time.
Yeah.
I think you said he had 50,000.
15,000 vinyls. And I saw it myself, because I used to visit his house. Stacks of vinyls, records.
So the early days, like many young people growing up in your time, your generation here, Deep Purple, for example, were huge.
Very huge.
Household name.
Yeah, of course. I was born in the mid of 70s, and grew up in the 80s when traditionally people will learn or choose their own music when they were in after 10 years. Before, parents choose for you.
Yeah.
I learned those bands, Zeppelin, Purple, Yes, from magazines. So, but at the time there was maybe in many what we thought that time that music from outside, from Europe or from America, must be better than
That's
Indonesia.
right. It's
That kind of mindset.
Well, I had that mindset coming from Tasmania about imported records from mainland Australia, even though we're one country.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But it is amazing, and some of those obscure records would be things that are lost just because they're regional.
Yeah.
Or they're only particular to a small community.
Yeah, I think that's also happened here.
But Dara Puspita became huge. I mean, it's fair to say they are the Beatles of Indonesia in terms of what they achieved.
But as far as I recall, because I grew up in the 80s, in the 90s, and I subscribed to a music magazine or teen magazine that often also had coverage on Indonesian music scene. Dara Puspita never once mentioned. Only a handful of rock bands here, like God Bless, El Pamas, Grass Rocks, things like that being mentioned or celebrated as the pioneers of rock. Never even once.
And so it was a buried history.
Yeah, they're really honest.
I mean, a friend of mine in Thailand, a great record producer, musician, cultural provocateur, Matt Sai has a label called Zudrangma Records and released all the international Mollem band and things like that, but has championed this kind of Thai countryside music. And he told me a story where his older sister would say to him, and they both spent a lot of time in London as well, say, Matt, why do you want to play this horrible old truck driver music? It was considered lowbrow.
Yeah, that's also happened, I think, here, because in certain degree, old records, of course, from the old bands, they were produced compared to today's technology, relatively or significantly lower quality. Yeah. So people will say, that's not good. So good or bad music to some people is judged from the quality of the recording,
so
not the song.
Even just the sound, even the quality of it, which of course has become such a sought-after thing.
Yeah.
The taste is back to this garage vintage rock and roll. Yeah. And Dara Puspita sounds so good.
Yeah, that kind of perspective, I think, that kind of mindset that applies at that time.
Well, by the 80s, the studios and technology had become... the trend was to compress everything and isolate everything. And make it sound like Foreigner.
Clean, very well equipment, quality production, sound production, the perfect digitalizations.
This is almost like a taste of flavour in food. If you're not used to something, it'll be a shock to you. If you're going from your slick production records and suddenly hear, garage rock by four girls from Surabaya, it's going to sound rough.
Yeah, rough. And maybe mono, in mono or not really stereo. Yeah, due to the limited tracks for the recordings, I think it also contribute to the mindset of the newer generation at that time.
A bass player told me the other day, the young generation today are surprised when they hear the sound of a real bass guitarist
in
music because it's usually just the kick drum turned up.
Yeah. Even today, people are more and more familiar with electric drum.
Yeah.
So not really generic or acoustic drums.
And so let's jump forward to the recent Reformation, and it's been after a long period of time. Can you tell me about the Dara Puspita Reformation, the live gigs, and what happened? What took place to make that possible, and how long had it been between gigs since they last played?
Yeah, jump to that point. Of course, maybe I'm too exaggerating, yeah. But in my perspective, after I started to my own personal project to preserve the history of the band and start like making a Facebook page for them and writing the history piece by piece.
Really becoming the unofficial historian.
Yeah,
but official too.
Yeah.
So people like me come looking for you,
but I can boast that my work is the most complete historical archive of Indonesian popular band or contemporary Indonesian music. If we compare to Koes Plus, they have massive fans and tribute bands, countless. Dara Puspita at that time, during when I first start my activity in archiving them, no one knows, especially younger generation. And as time goes by, then people start knowing that.
Were people, friends or colleagues, curious about your curiosity?
Yeah,
like
of course.
Why this band?
Yeah, of course, my those in the professional work or the family. Why are you so keen to do that project or whatever? But after that, the band began has come to surface in Indonesian music scene, both mainstream media or internet, things like that. They became like Rolling Stone Indonesia magazine has a special edition to commemorate 50 years of the band, the career span of the band. And then
sorry, I'm just going to look at what is that sound? So can we go back to the beginning and describe and name each of these members, who they were? What was the beginning? How old were they? Where did they live? What was Indonesia like at that time? What was the earliest year, do you think, that they began?
Yeah, as far as I know, from the inner circle of the band and also from the band themselves, they started their career before mid 60s. Initially, they formed like as they said, 14 girls in a big band. 14 consists of 14 members, but the leader of the band, Titi AR, when she learned about the Beatles, then she got an idea to make a more simple band, consist of 4 members like the Beatles. They wanted to be popular, they wanted to be success, and then the role model of a success band was Koes Brothers, or we call it Koes Bersaudara in Indonesia. And they lucky enough because they met Koes Bersaudara when the band performed in Surabaya. And the leader of the band, Tony Kuswoyo, suggested them to move to Jakarta if they want to be successful, because you won't get any success if you stay in Surabaya. They were,
So it was classic move to the city, big city, the big smoke.
Although Surabaya
run away with the rock and roll band.
Yeah, and I think the what you call it, management or the crew or the roadie, because at that time that role was concentrated in one person, Handianto, offered help. If you girls move to Jakarta, then let us know. And then the girls traveled to Jakarta.
Was he an Indonesian?
Handianto?
Yeah.
Indonesian, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was a Japanese actually, but he was raised in Jakarta, and he met Kus Bersaudara, and because he got skills in repairing instruments, electronics, then he was recruited by the Kus Bersaudara as their technicians, and also doing managerial stuff. And then when Kus Bersaudara performed in Surabaya, he offered them to perform in Surabaya as, what you call it, additional shows during the break time for the band. That's common at that time. During the 60s or 70s.
Give them a spot.
Yeah, the band will have a break, and usually comedians will perform, or another band. Not really, like opening act, middle act. So the girls got the opportunity, that golden opportunity to play in the Kus Bersaudara's shows. And then they traveled to Jakarta and rehearsed with the band, and they started to be known by the community in Jakarta, and they got the job or invitations for gigs, things like that.
And there they met a German entrepreneur, a music kind of a Brian Epstein type character who actually connected them with Epstein's company.
Wilhelm Boots. Actually, they got offered to play in a Circus Luxembourg. Initially, they were offered to play like for 3 months to Hungary, things like that. But in the course of the history, they.
And you're talking about the change from Sukarno to Suharto time.
No, I mean that happened after the.
So that left already for Europe. That accepted this offer.
Not yet. But they also faced what you call it, the repression, if that's the correct word. There was as 4 young women. There was
playing wild rock and roll.
There was a strong anti-British sentiment because Indonesia under Sukarno believed that colonialism and imperialism still exist, including through culture. So Sukarno's policy, or guided democracy, Sukarno called his administration, banned anything that has aspects
that they were being censored.
Censored. But to be precise, in terms of music, you are prohibited to play Beatles music. So only the Beatles. While Dara Puspita actually, in essence, substantially, they played rock and roll like the Rolling Stones. But because Rolling Stones is not the Beatles, then they didn't. Yeah, you can go.
they found a loophole.
Yeah, they found a loophole.
That's amazing. But this Wilhelm Boots, what do we know about him? Was he a German or was he an Indonesian German? What was the connection? I mean, he was obviously a businessman who was involved in the entertainment industry, managing several bands. Or
honestly, I haven't done any research on Boots. Yeah, I should.
I'm curious about these interlopers. To kind of imagine the mise en scène, the makeup of the people and the diversity of those people and their backgrounds intersecting in this time of globalization of the 60s, but also this kind of national hesitation to turn away from that very obvious European colonial hangover. So I'm wondering about the kind of agents and the sales agents and the distributors and the people that create the markets for this industry to exist, and who were they? I mean, we also talked earlier about the pioneering record label man. He's almost like the Motown of Indonesia, Dick Tamimi.
Yeah.
Describe the world of Dick Tamimi and who he might have been, and what was his interest and inclination to come in and champion great music, great releases.
I used to ask this question to Handianto, who, as I told you, was formerly the technician or management affair of Kus Bersaudara. And when Dara Puspita was asked to or were offered to play in the western part of this world, the girls asked Kus Bersaudara to lend their technicians because they had no technicians that can help them during the tour. And Handianto told me that Dick Tamimi was actually used to be in Air Force, Indonesian Air Force.
He was
pilot or pilot trainer, like things.
He was certainly in the Air Force, and certainly had a fascination for electronics and radios and transmitting devices.
Yeah, and quite radical. What you call it? Move to a recording industry. But his label, Mesra Records. Mesra, I don't know the synonym in English, maybe tender.
Is Mesra an Indonesian word? Does it have a meaning? Mesra?
Yes, Mesra is like tender, or dearly, things like that. Produced quite a lot of recordings from ranging from pop music, traditional, but mostly Dara Puspita, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the early release of Mesra.
So really an early experiment.
And that happened in 1966. Full album, And
which album?
The debut, yang pertama, or the first. Yang pertama means the first, released in 1966. Even the album of Dara Puspita, the full album, consists of, I forgot, 10 songs or 11 or 12. Released first than Kus Bersaudara, that has started the career earlier than Dara Puspita.
So the Mesra label only went until about 1974, right? And then it folded.
Pardon?
Yeah. Mesra?
Mesra,
Mesra, am I saying it again?
Mesra.
Mesra. it closed in about 1974. So
Yeah, 733 something. Yeah, 70.
yeah, so maybe only existed for less than 10 years.
Yes.
Why did it close?
According to Handianto, Dik Tamimi was really upset with the situations of recording industry in Indonesia at the time. Piracy. Yeah.
Piracy.
And mafia, things like that. And that's difficult, yeah. I'm not into recording industry. I'm into law, but
they do meet sometimes.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, you don't really have control when you duplicate albums, because the master can be
Duplicated.
Can be circulated in people's that you don't know.
Or you don't know how many pressings.
Things like that.
But the quality, I mean, you see with his label and the Mithra label, the quality, the artwork, it's so well thought out. They're beautiful records.
Yes, yeah. So, some are fantastic, with artwork, and some many of the covers, just merely the photos with the illustrations, or mixed with that.
The whole package, it's a real quality.
Yeah.
So he must have been a fan. He must have loved this stuff too.
Yeah, that's the strange part of Dik Tamimi. How can an Air Force man become a label?
I think he died in a plane.
Yeah. During the I forgot the training or things like that. On his plane.
Do you know anything about that situation?
No, but Handianto told me that Dick used to offer him to buy the records, but Handianto at that time didn't have interest to continue the business.
And the sister label or a rival label is
Remarco.
Remarco, also beautiful quality work.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell me about Remarco?
Yeah, Remarco, I think Republic Manufacturing Company, the abbreviations of Republic Manufacturing Company. And I used to hear that Remarco was the biggest recording company in Southeast Asia.
In Asia?
Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And in Indonesia, we have to admit that it has tons of releases. So
unlike Dik Tamimi's label, which was more boutique, this was really a big business.
Big business, yeah. And maybe also because we have to keep in mind that in early 70s, the formats of the recording shift from vinyls, which is more expensive and only for upper class maybe, to tapes, cassette tapes, which is more affordable to ordinary people.
That's amazing to imagine.
My speculation, one of the factors that contribute to the success of Remarco.
When I went to Surabaya to meet Susie many years ago now, I had a poster, a printout of the record covers of Darah Puspita. When I came in on the train plays their song, Surabaya, Surabaya, Surabaya.
Yeah.
Very popular song, everyone knows it.
Yeah, I know that song before I know Darah Puspita.
Yeah, so I'm in the street, I'm curious to know who knows Darah Puspita, and I would ask. No. And the people shake their head, they don't know.
They know the song.
And then I show them these amazing record covers, and they still shake their head. They're laughing, they don't know.
They don't know.
But sing the song, they sing along with it.
Yeah.
But someone explained it to me, and I think it was Susie herself. She said, well, that time, records and that culture was only really accessible to, the wealthy people. The general population.
Yeah, that makes sense. And ordinary people can only access the song from radio. Yeah?
So they will know something off the radio, but they don't know all the liner notes and the detail and the picture.
Yeah.
I mean, in Cambodia, normal people, when I first went there, would go and make their favourite compilation tape with the guy on the street making cassette copies, he will know, and most of the people would be illiterate. So they'd sing the song they want, and he'd find it, copy it, write down the name, then choose another one like that.
That's also happened in Indonesia in the late 80s, in the 90s also.
Some people on the streets duplicating cassettes.
But we have to remember that the career of Dara Puspita, the life of the band, ended in very early of 70s. That's why.
Yeah.
While the tradition, the habit to copy, to make a, nowadays people will call it mixtape, that grew in late 80s maybe. Because you need to have to duplicate machine or tape player to create a copy.
So these days, speaking of copies, there are lots of actual young generation bands and female bands as well who are replicating Dara Puspita.
Yes.
And why has that happened? Can you describe some examples of that? Anybody you know?
Well, I have no idea why they really want, but I think that everybody needs inspiration.
It's inspiration.
Inspiration. I think that because they don't really replicate the music. Yeah. But they know the inspiration, the idol, because Dara Puspita has had the achievement, the huge success that they also wanted to be like the predecessors. The Dare from Lombok, and then that currently disbanded, the Fleur, and in the 90s maybe Geger and Traksap, all female bands. Yeah.
One from Melbourne?
Yeah, the 45.
Yeah.
And many others from other parts of the world.
And so there's really a nostalgia there as well, a fascination for vintage and retro.
Yeah.
But there's also this kind of passion to, like you said, just take inspiration and
That's not only limited to Indonesian population.
Yeah,
Indonesian people.
and it's not simply copying; it's taking it forward, isn't it?
But what amazed me is that the inspirations and the model, the role model that Dara Puspita has to many female bands from many parts of the world, that I learned from the Facebook page of Dara Puspita. That's really amazing.
Yeah, I mean the skills. Not only were they a great looking all-girl band, as all-girl bands project in their imagery, but their musicianship and their ideas and their attitude. You just hear it straight away as soon as the needle drops on a Dara Puspita record. It's wow, what is this?
Especially if we consider, or if we learn that it was done in the mid or in the late 60s. They really giant leap, really advanced from their
they are the punk band of their time, aren't they?
Garage band, the punk elements on it.
I mean, it's as radical as, say, 10 years ago, Pussy Riot coming out of Putin's Russia, right?
Yeah, that's happened long before Pussy Riot.
But same impact.
Yeah.
If not more. But another thing you were talking about earlier, and you're working on ideas, of course, all the time. It's hard to, it's hard to let them go. But you're starting to mention about the idea of something to do with the freedom in it. It's a new idea that you're thinking through. But for me as well, there's so much. There's such a sense of freedom of expression, but there's also such a picture of bravery.
Yes.
I mean, these 4 young women from a small, well, not small, but a remote part of the world, going international, taking a chance, putting themselves out there and being so strong about it in their expression, in their attitude, in their self-conviction too. I mean, that's an amazing part of the story. That's my feeling on it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, as a fan of their music, of course, my point of view is more into their honesty, their skills. Although they say that they don't have skills or just not really special with us there also. But other side of me, because I work at the university as a researcher also, there is I think something that is interesting to be researched from a human rights, constitutional rights perspective, how they struggle to for the enjoyments of freedoms of expressions, especially if we put in the context at the time in the 60s. I think not only in Indonesia but in many parts of the world, women were not as free as today.
I had a woman friend about the age of my mum, actually, comment on Facebook a few years ago when I wrote something about Dareth Puspita and this idea of them shattering the glass ceiling that existed, and you know what a great time the 60s was for this. But she said no, it wasn't. Women didn't have rights and freedom in the 60s. It might look like it for you, Julian, looking back, but it's not true.
If we measure with the current situation, of course, what's so special? But if we put it on the context at the time, when women were very limited in their expressions and their haircuts, the way they should be, what they should wear, and that what Dareth Puspita was really out of the box at the time.
Women supposed to be seen but not heard, and then this noisy band of.
I used to ask Titi Air, I think, and she admit that during their time, she heard people said you like in trance with the devil because of your music. And then one of the songs also expressed their maybe sadness or concern that many people look down at us or said negative to us because of their appearance, their music.
So they're carrying that weight as well.
Yeah.
With their songs, and for you, what are your favourites? If you had to make a mixtape now from let's just do this as a silly Spotify exercise, 1 to 10.
This is interesting because there is actually there are mixtapes of Dareth Puspita, and it depends. If you're from Western countries or US, who usually more into beat, then you will pick rock songs.
Well, I know what I pick up. I pick the fuzzy, wild ones, but that's where I come from. Whereas the sort of
because I'm more in I'm blended between the two. Then my first pick is Tinggalkan Aku Sendiri. The slow, relatively pop, yeah, because it has a very beautiful harmony, vocal harmony. The song was written by Yok Kuswoyo of Kus Bersaudara. And the other I will pick Bertamasya. Bertamasya.
On vacation.
On vacation, sung by Susi Nandar.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's Susi Nandar singing.
Yeah, that's the voice of Susi Nandar. Not really achieve the tone actually, but that's the interesting. That's the soul of the song. You don't really need to. You don't have to really perfect. The most important thing is the soul and the honesty.
It's just full blown attitude.
Yeah.
It's
and also the roaring guitar sound. It just came out from a Fender Stratocaster, played by Indonesian women. Other maybe like Bhaktiku. Bhaktiku is my, what is in English? Bhaktiku is my dedication, maybe dedication for the country. That's the story of what they do. According to them, is actually for the glory of the nations. That's really patriotic, actually, a patriotic song.
When we met earlier, we met at an old hotel.
Yeah.
Hotel
Besar.
Yes, and you said that possibly, quite probably the band stayed there.
Yeah, yeah.
But we were there and you played me on your phone Dara Puspita Min Plus.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, Dara Puspita Min Plus is what you call it, successor maybe, or the continuations of Dara Puspita, because Dara Puspita as a band that consists of 4 members, this band formally in the mid of 1972 when Titi Hamzah quit the band and Liz had to go back to Holland because her marriage. But Titi AR insisted to continue the band, so she recruited 2 new members who, in my opinion, were really well trained musically. Dora Sahertian and Judith Manopo. Dora was truly professional musician. After Dara Puspita, a lot of her work, in recording, in piano and solo albums, and she has a tenor vocal.
So the kind of Guns for Hire, or was it a collaboration that was just going to come together?
Pardon?
Were they hired session?
No, that's a full band. And at that time, I think, at least in Indonesia, additional musician of that has not recognized.
So unknown. They weren't recognised.
What do you mean?
These musicians at the time joining Dara Puspita Min Plus.
I'm not sure, but I have no knowledge about that. But Dora Sahertian, who replaced Titi Hamzah as the lead vocals of the band, was really a good singer. And Judith Manopo, I have no idea about her, but she came from a very musical family. Her brother, Jimmy Manopo, was one of the most respected drummer from the Rollies, the new Rollies. So I assume that Judith also has a certain level of musical education. And they, under the name of Dara Puspita Min Plus, they released one record under Indra Record. Indra Record actually Surabaya based record, but at the time the studio was still in Jakarta. A very good quality, the sound and the compositions also. And to my knowledge, the songs on that record really fit to European ears or Western ears.
And so
Psychedelic.
I think back on that kind of terminology, it was really a continuum of an evolution of Dara Puspita rather than just a successor.
No, they evolved from ordinary or original pop music from their debut in 1966. And during several years after 66, of course they have a lot of experience, learned new songs techniques. So they in Min Plus, I think it was released in 1972 or 3. They really composed.
You really can hear on that little part that you played me the difference between 60s pop and 70s rock and roll. It's really
Titi Air used to tell me that she wanted she always on the band always wanted to play louder and louder. At that time it was called heavy sound. So judging from the bootlegs of the live recordings in the late 60s and 70, 71, they played repertoire like Black Sabbath.
Heavier.
Yeah,
and I mean before that was even called metal,
they
called
covered,
hard
of course,
rock.
because they stayed in Europe. They played for the top 40s, like the Bee Gees. But they also learned new sounds, new genre. Black Sabbath 10 years after Uriah Heep. They wanted to play louder and louder.
Stadium.
In Indonesia, yes, but in Europe, Titi said that in Europe mostly played in small clubs. Yeah, partly due to the.
But that sounds of those live, it sounds like they're playing in a stadium.
The one that when they played Uriah Heep July Morning, that was in open air, in the zoo, kebun binatang in Indonesia.
So it's an open air concert in the zoo.
Well, honestly, I'm not really certain about this. Because it is in Kebun Binatang Semarang. Whether it is in a what you call it, in a hall or open, I'm not sure.
I think you're right, because I remember there is a zoo also in Surabaya, and Susie told me about doing a concert there. I thought it was there.
I assume that they played open area, not in the what you call it, building or indoor. But of course, when they returned back from Holland by the end of 71, and they toured Indonesia 1972, that the poster on the wall was the poster of Indonesian tour 1972. They played stadiums, always in stadiums. In Yogyakarta, Gridosono Stadium. In Purwokerto, also in what you call it, music hall.
So they sort of went into exile here as a provocative club band in the 60s and returned to a stadium audience in the 70s.
Yeah.
And of course there have been big political, social changes in Indonesia during that period, right?
Yeah.
While they were away.
Pardon?
While they were...
Yeah. When they returned, Indonesian politics has changed from Sukarno, which was anti-West and America, into a new order under Suharto, which was open to America and Western culture.
Heavier rock.
Yeah, heavier rock. although the government at the time also had problem with youngsters with long hairs, rock and roll, but they still let them be.
Was there a kind of a name for these youngsters with long hair, rock and rollers at the time? Were they labelled something? You know, in Australia we had Sharpies and hippies and.
No, I think.
No,
yeah.
But just to finish up on this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it still so interesting and important? It's the gift that keeps giving, Dara Puspita's history. Why are we having this conversation today? And not just us, but many people are intrigued and more fascinated than ever. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there is a new awareness of the people, among the people. That wow, we've done that far, and that was done by girls, an enormous step. Yeah, recognitions from abroad, especially from Western civilization. Let's make it simple like that, and that possible. So that's I think that's the biggest inspiration or the core of the existence of Dara Puspita. Maybe not the music itself.
Yeah, no, the music is just is part of the vehicle.
Yeah,
But all the
music
context around it.
Yeah. But more deeper than that. Yeah, that we as a nation can move to that point. And that's the most, I think, the precious inspiration, the biggest inspiration for the nation, especially for females.
So it's really, for you, as an Indonesian, looking at the modern history of Indonesia from independence to now, it's a real visual marker point. It's a cultural reference point that you can look at and measure from there to here. How things have moved and progressed and changed and evolved, and but in the end, what a story, like a fairy tale. Well, you worked closer with the ladies of Dara Puspita. Would you say it's like a fairy tale story? Is it
of course. It's all began with the big surprise of me to see this phenomenon, and I started to. I felt curious. Where are they now? Who they are? And then during the course of my life, then I lucky enough to meet the ex-roadie, the ex-technician, the late Handianto, and he passed on all the archives and the stories, and he told me that I had to preserve the history and so on and so on. And then I met all members in Holland, and I got to know them personally. Yeah, it's like a fairy tale. It's like a blessing, maybe. I often think that this is my one of the duty of my existence in the world, besides teaching, doing any legal education, that I have extra or additional task from the Creator for the nations to reveal or to
It's a keeper of a gift, that archive and that history passed on and entrusted to you is an example of the significance of that.
Like when Dara Puspita disbanded in 1972, I wasn't even born. I was born like 3 years later. But my feelings, I always feel that I'm with the girls. I'm their friends. Although separated by the gap of the time, you cannot united the gap of the time, the period of time. But in my imagination, I'm their friends.
Yeah, but I think look at them here. They give you that feeling anyway, don't they? They're a very successful example of what a rock and roll band should be, where you feel a part of it, and you're on the bus with them. It's
in the narrowest sense maybe, and in the actual life, those who have the band are the crew members, who prepare the instruments, setting up the stage. But I feel like I have also another job to documenting and preserving the history. So I'm with the girls. That kind of feeling that really drives me to keep on moving, although I got nothing from it.
But hey, what a great feeling! And look at these amazing girls. Who wouldn't want to be with the band here?
Yeah. That's a privilege for me to be close. Yeah. I think everybody has idol.
Yeah.
But the deeper than that is that we help each other as humans. Not only the girls, but also the community, the society. What is it called in social science as altruism? So we will feel happy. We'll be happy not only when we take something, but
it's not just a transaction from one point to the other. It helps all of us. So back to the humanist.
Like I'm happy not only because I got something for you if you give me a cigarette. No. That makes me happy also. But if I can make a cup of coffee for you and you enjoy it, then I'm happy as well.
Well, I tell you, take me to more of those soto.
That kind of feeling.
Tell me how I say that soup again, the beef soup.
Soto Sokaraja. So soto is the food. Sokaraja refers to the place of the soto where it is originated.
Well, I'm at the place where the Soto of Dara Puspita has originated here in Java, in Indonesia.
Different. Soto Surabaya. They Soto Surabaya with no peanut sauce.
No peanut sauce.
Yeah.
I mean, music as well, the audio experience of things is a little bit like flavors and tastes, and the archipelago of Indonesia is so rich and diverse in cultures. Yeah. There's so much hybridization of things going on that makes it so special. And for me as a newcomer, or as a kind of a crate digger, who I like picking up a unusual record and putting it on and thinking, what is this? There's so many rich flavors here, like the food. So it's a treasure chest. It doesn't end. But I think also you've lived in Melbourne and studied in Melbourne, Australia, so you would know very well that there are many Indonesians in Melbourne, many students, and many Indonesian restaurants. But not many people know about the sounds of Indonesia. Aside from a few exceptional cases like Empat Lima and the little record shop near the Napier. They're full of Dara Puspita records.
Oh, really?
Northside Records. Mostly funk. It's all funk, and then it's also got Indonesian.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is just coming to the rest of the world. We all know the stories of Motown or Stax Records or Brian Epstein and the Beatles, Robert Stigwood and the Bee Gees, but this thousands and thousands of records made in Indonesia, hundreds of thousands.
Oh, really?
Fascinating. So yeah, my next stop is the old recording studio. You've been there, right?
I live in Solo. I was born in Solo, but I never been to into the studio itself. But I know the locations. The Lokananta to me personally was or is record label of Indonesian traditional music, gamelan.
Gamelan, yeah.
Because my father bought a lot of Lokananta releases gamelan music, but actually they also produced popular music during the 60s.
It was a nationalized.
Yeah, that's a state-owned company actually. But in my family, Lokananta, like records owned by my fathers, all of them are gamelan. Only the traditional music, Japanese traditional music.
Yeah. Thank you for that amazing interview. I will send you by WeTransfer an uncut copy of all of it.
Yep.
So if you need to use it anywhere, use it.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah.
You still have your coffee? No.
I've done. I think I'm.
Ini sama?
Oh, I'd love a bit more.
Yeah.
Good coffee too.
Yeah, this from Sumatra.
I sat down with a really nice new friend, Dianto, who has a little shop in Jalan Surabaya. And
Dianto, oh yeah.
But he's a music fan, a lover. He's got every clipping of Coast Plus.
Oh, Coast Plus. I specialize this book for Coast Plus. Sorry,
yeah.
Messy, yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
This is Coast Plus. Tape format, all Coast Plus.
You really?
Yeah. I have some vinyls also, but the number of the records because
they've lost count.
Yeah.
Dianto's thinking it might be 150 albums.
Maybe. Yeah, because they another label will record with the new sounds, things like that. I have several Coast yeah. Final. Like this.
What's that one?
Coast Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Signed by the receiver. And this is Kus Bersaudara, the full album of Kus Bersaudara under Mesra.
Nice. Yeah.
With autographs of three
members.
Three members. One cannot because of passed away.
And the song I was talking about. That's the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. This is the most sought after by Westerner.
It is, but look at the cover. The cover is, I mean, it's so 1970s. That one is so powerful.
Yeah, so powerful.
Actually, can we take that out of the plastic so I can photograph it?
Yeah. You already have this, no?
From Groovy Records, the reissue. The Coast Plus song, Inri Hari Dan Kanti. Dan Kanti, is that?
Dan Kanti. Oh.
Inri Hari Dan Kanti.
Let me see. Dan Kanti. Let's Google it. What album?
I love that we're sitting here with Susie Nanda's drumsticks.
Oh yeah. Oh, volume 5. Ku mengerti menyelami. Ya, volume 5. I think I have it there.
Today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Terima kasih. What was that song?
Andaikan Kau Datang, a song dedicated to Susinanda.
That's the one.
Yeah. Andaikan Kau Datang kembali, if you come back again. Jawaban apa yang ku beri? What should I say?
And which Coast Plus album is that?
I think that's from the second album, 1970, if I'm not mistaken.
It was from really early days.
That's dedicated to Susinanda, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. It's beautiful, beautiful. That is a great little concert. Thank you. I like this shot, the drummer in the background with